Back here on First Things First. Coach Mangini is back with us. Coach, it's great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
Good to see you.
Great to see you.
I'm so excited that the energy is
back up. Everybody is properly caffeinated.
Jim is still in vacation mode first hour of the show. Let's be honest. Thinking about the beach.
That first segment.
I'm back. I am back. I'm fired up. And nothing gets me more fired up than talking about the NFC East. If there wasn't already a ton of pressure on the Cowboys, watching the Eagles win the Super Bowl certainly didn't make anything easier. Count Jerry Jones among those paying attention. He admits that Philly's success has had an impact on his own expectations. Take a listen to this.
I think it raises the bar. I think it puts pressure on the Cowboys. They've took it down to the bone and brought it back up and have a world championship, and we've been doing the same thing. Where's ours?
Coach, go.
Rebuild.
Well, that's what he meant. Yeah, we were looking at. That's what he meant. He was saying they. Okay, I was a little confused on what exactly he was talking about. He said took it down to the bone.
He's an old oil guy. The oil's it's bone dry, so you have to move on. To rebuild. That's what.
Okay.
Cece, translating English to English for us, for the three of us here.
Cece, a Jerry Jones impersonator and translator.
Coach, I had no idea that the Super Bowl winner could affect the rest of the division that way. Like, I didn't realize that it's so connected that way, that someone like Jerry Jones and the Cowboys are thinking, gosh, now we're so far behind where the Eagles are and we have our work cut out for us. Is that the case?
I'm trying to understand exactly what message he was getting across. Who's it put pressure on? He controls the team. He controls the personnel. Does it put pressure on him? Are they talking about taking the team and bringing it down to the bone and totally changing the complexion of this roster? Does it put pressure on the coaching staff? Really, when you look at the coaching staff, they changed out about 8 or 9 guys this offseason. They kept the offensive and defense coordinator, but they brought that down to the bone, so they made changes there. I'm trying to figure out where the pressure lies in that comment.
Revisionist history. When he says the Eagles went through a rebuild, we did as well. They got their championship, where's ours? Part of the Eagles' rebuild was, by the way, firing a coach, bringing an entirely new system, changing coaches a couple times, actually, I guess, if you want to go from when they got rid of Andy Reid, when they brought in Chip Kelly, firing Chip Kelly, bringing in Doug Peterson.
Got rid of 2 general managers.
Right.
You know what that would require? I have to fire myself and my son.
Right.
That's not happening.
Okay. And I mean, the Eagles did, if you look at who was on the team, which is not that long ago, just a couple of years ago, who's on the team now, the Eagles, they did it quickly. But they really did do a couple rebuilds, actually. Dallas, and they had Tony Romo as their quarterback a couple years ago. They thought they were competing for a championship ever since Dez caught it. Dez didn't catch it. Whatever it was. The Cowboys haven't gone through a full rebuild. Now, they've done well in the draft. They've drafted smartly ever since Jerry handed those reins over. They've built up their offensive line. They got a stud in Ezekiel Elliott. They got a value pick in the 4th round in Dak Prescott. But him comparing their path to the Eagles' path, to me at least, it's just not accurate.
It's not accurate, and the Cowboys' fortune could have been changed if they could have done like Philadelphia did. Philadelphia had a competent backup. When Dallas really had a chance, they didn't have a backup quarterback. Yep. So let's not forget their recent history, because people would think that that's with Dak and with Ezekiel. No, it's with Tony Romo. And when Tony Romo got hurt, they had a good football team. They could not get a backup back. What the real news is has nothing to do with what's going on in Philadelphia. It's what every other team in the NFC is doing. Dallas has not been in the Super Bowl in 21 years. There's 16 teams in the NFC. He thinks Philadelphia up the stakes. 12 of the teams have been to the championship, or to the Super Bowl since Dallas has last returned. The only teams are my Vikings, all right, Deontay's Detroit Lions, all right, the Washington Redskins, who have a historic team, and they went there right before Dallas won, and the L.A. Rams, but The Rams in St. Louis had been there.
And by the way, that's the Super Bowl. If we want to just say get to the NFC Championship game since Dallas last been to one, cross off the Vikings and the Rams because they've been there.
Yes.
There have been 14 teams that have been deeper into the playoffs in their own conference in the last 20 years. So the idea that they're all of a sudden just chasing Philadelphia is not accurate.
No, they aren't. But I do agree with Jerry in the sense that they should be in the mix every year. And they
absolutely.
When they had Tony Romo, those were good teams.
And you have to know how to win your division. So there is real pressure when you have Carson Wentz and a team surround him with Carson Wentz not playing. So, yes, I would understand that perspective because you have to know who's in your division and you have to gear your teams toward how do I win my division to get into the playoffs.
And they have, what is it, almost 10 out of 11 starters coming back offensively, and I think it's pretty much the same thing defensively, and they'll probably re-sign the one guy that potentially could leave, and they do have continuity with the offensive and defensive coordinator and the head coach. They've got a really good young quarterback. They've got a really good young back. They've got an offensive line that is right there amongst the best in the league. They are poised to win, and they were 9-7 last year. I get where Jerry's coming from. They should be in the mix, and they should be doing that not just this year, but in the next few years to come.
They were 9-7 last year, and in the mix, and could have been even more the mix if Ezekiel Elliott didn't miss 6 games. They were right there. You mentioned a couple things, but how much more competitive do they have to be, or how much more do they have to do to just get to where Jerry thinks he's on par?
They have to get playmakers on offense and defense. They got to get guys in the secondary who can turn the football over to give the offense more opportunities. They have to have more playmakers from the wide receiver position and their quarterback. In year number 3, he's got to be more of a playmaker compared to a game manager. So if they can improve those 3 things right there, I believe the Dallas Cowboys are able to make that jump because they're right there. They are a playoff team. They are talented. But can they be an elite team? They can't do it without those things happening.
But I also want the NFC right now is very strong. And I want us to be honest about for the Cowboys because it's almost like they're framing it like, well, we have this extra Herculean task because Philadelphia is in our division. What division in the NFC isn't brutal? You want to go out west where you have the Seahawks and the Rams and the Niners coming with Jimmy Garoppolo. You want to go to the south where you had 3 separate playoff teams this year in the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers. What about the NFC North where you have Aaron Rodgers, you have the Minnesota Vikings, and you have the Lions who think they should be good with their quarterback and Matt Stafford? Like the idea that, it's just tough luck because we have to deal with the NFC East. No, it's not. Like every division in the NFC right now has an argument. It is the toughest division in the NFC. The Cowboys should be fine despite that.
And the one thing we know is that there's a bunch of teams that we're not counting on right now that are going to be really good next year.
Yes.
And there's a bunch of teams that we think, oh, my God, they're making this huge jump next season, and they're not going to be very good. The issue for Dallas is how well does Dak play? Is he the guy from the first year? Is he the guy from the second year? Where does this offense go now that they truly, with 2 years of film, they should understand his skill set? How much can they help him from a scheme perspective? How many playmakers can they put around him?
Yeah.
Can they fix that secondary or add some?
They need a time machine. They need a time machine to put Dak 2 years back and a time machine to put Dez 4 years back.
I don't think they're going to get that, but hopefully they can push forward a little bit. They should definitely be in the mix.
Sam Pepper told me that maybe in the 4th round they could draft a time machine. That thing will come back. Coach, stick around. You look super comfortable. Coming up, can Saquon Barkley be what Coach likes to call a force multiplier in the NFL? It's next on First Things First.
4th round pick?